Peter. He's such a good guy.
All right.
Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm.
If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest.
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
Their racing
roots.
Sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and their YouTube channel. Also on jerseycapeyachts.com. Check out my website, DHammiam.com. Be sure to hit that subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you'll be notified every time we go live.
Now here's our host, David Hamm.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Racing Roots with Hamm. I hope everybody had a great day and enjoyed this summertime weather wherever you are. I'm sure it's that way all the way across the country as the sun shines in. Actually, the sun's shining in on Phil right now. You can see him in the other camera over here and basking in the sun.
Sunshine I am, yeah.
There we go. Let's get him right here on the big screen. There's Phil Cavali. So welcome, everyone. And so tonight we got Peter Rabbit. I just like calling you that. It's not like Cottontail, but it's just like Peter Rabbit. But so tell a little bit about yourself right quick, just your quick bio. I don't have it in front of me, but.
Born in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. Been a modified man all my whole life.
Yeah.
Moved down to South, my wife and I, and got into cup racing with Kawicki, and one
and
thing
here
led to
you
another,
are.
and here I am.
Right. So
Here I am.
So yeah, Phil knows Peter. He's known him for a long time.
Peter Jellen, actually. I don't think his last name's a Rabbit.
Right.
That's his handle as a truck driver in NASCAR, as a hauler driver for years. Peter Jellen, but yeah, Peter Rabbit on the road.
And I recognize him. It's been a long time since I've seen him. I mean, it's been 20 years since. Actually, the last time I was at the racetrack was in 2004 in the pits and actually working and stuff. But yeah,
We were much younger back then.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing too. I run into people now that I haven't seen in 20 years, and I'm like, "You're getting old." I don't say that usually, and I'm not telling you are, but I'm just saying. I mean,
we all are.
Yeah. Usually everybody's a little bit heavier, but I don't think you gain any weight. So.
Yeah, well, I'm still good looking though.
Well, that's true. Yes. It's kind of like we were talking about Mike Modal earlier, and I said you kind of remind me of Mike a little bit, except Mike used to be like really skinny. And he's always drinking a Diet Mountain Dews and stuff, but he might have got a little bit away from that. But he's gained a little weight too.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah,
the last
but
couple
he
of
hustles
years
those tires all day long, though.
Yeah.
He hustles those tires. I keeps him fit. So Mike's a good man. Mike's a good man.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. He's a tough guy. So.
Yes, he is.
But thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope y'all enjoy this show, and I think you're going to, because we got a lot of stories that Peter's got to tell. And I know one of the most significant ones, the one that I'm mostly interested in, I guess, was the time whenever you drove the hauler for Kawicki, and then you drove it around the track. That's probably what you're most, let's say, famous for, I guess, was driving that hauler out of the track.
You're right, but the story that people really doesn't understand is the story that happened, what led up to that week.
Mm-hmm.
That week before that was, the week of that, I should say, was what a lot of people don't see what happened. That's what I'll tell you. That was just a weird week, but it was a significant week.
Man, should we jump into that, or should we hold off till? I guess maybe we'll hear your story first. You know, your racing roots, and
his
then
background, and then
and
he's far more famous for many things along the road. That's just one significant. That was a highlight. That wasn't really a highlight for a good reason, but I guess things happen for a reason, and we were all there for that moment.
And I don't regret doing it because I did it for Alan and did it for the sport. But
that's how everybody that day really soaked it up. It was really felt. One of those pin drop moments.
It was. I did not want to do it because I was like, man, Alan's going to kill me if he walks around the corner, because every time you turn around, he was watching you. But I said, I got to do it. And they wanted me to do it backwards lap, and I said, nope, I can't do it. That was Alan's deal, is the backwards lap, the Polish lap. And I said, nope, I'm going to save that for Alan.
Everybody was behind you that day.
Because he only did it twice. He only did it twice, right? He did it when he won, let's see, I wrote this down. He won November 8th in Phoenix.
Yeah.
For the first time he did a Polish lap in 1992. Oh, and then at the 1992 championship, the
right.
Hooters 500.
Right.
That's the only other one.
And that's when they wanted me to do it with the truck, and I'm like, well, first of all, I couldn't turn the truck around because there wasn't enough room. But I'm like, no, I said no. This is Alan's deal. That's something he perfected, and that's something he needed to do. And I said that's his legacy, and I left it at that. But I said I'll do the lap, and I was scared to do it because I'm like, man, he's going to kill me because that's how Alan was. He was just that kind of guy. Not that he was going to kill me for doing it, but just that wasn't part of our regime. You know, we were nose to the grindstone and work hard and get it done, but
no frills.
No frills. That was get it done.
Yeah. All right. So your name is Peter Jellen, and you from Connecticut.
Stafford Springs. Yeah, Stafford Springs, home of the Stafford Springs Motor Speedway. Yeah, born and raised up that way. My parents' property bordered the racetrack. Everybody in town either had a street stock, a late model, or a sportsman car, modified. Wanted to go there. My brothers took me, my sister took me, my mom took me. And when I turned 16, I said, I'm getting in that pit area. And I got in there, and I got to know Richie Evans and Fred DeZero and a lot of the local guys. And I wanted to be involved. I just wanted to get involved, and I did. And I tried it, and I actually got together with a couple guys. We owned a car. We were partners. Did okay. Then never won a race there, but hey, we did it. We filled their dream, and then all of a sudden I just got, I just couldn't do it no more. A lot of guys had me work for them, and I just got burnt out. Get to the point, time to make a change. It's time to make a change.
You got to be around a lot of those legendary drivers there.
Oh, can't complain. I mean, Richie Evans, Fred DeZero, Leo Clary, Eddie Flemke. I mean, those guys. I mean, they were heroes, man. Them guys were racers, and I was just a kid. And them guys took me under their wing. Richie Evans was the cat daddy, man. He didn't care who you were. He wanted to race. You could talk about a gear. You could talk about a motor. In fact, he was going to give us a car. He was going to give us a car. I forget what championship was. His 5th or 6th title he was going for. We had a shop right there in Stafford. Quarter mile from the racetrack. And he says, Pete, I want to give you a car. You guys can race it, whatever. He says, but if I need it, I want it. And I'm like, cool. I'm like, yeah, Richie Evans, man, that was a king,
That's a good piece there you got.
Oh, God. I mean, I was like, here I am, 18, 19 years old, going, Richie Evans, man, this guy is, I'm walking on clouds, you know?
Yeah.
Sure.
And
before you got in at 15, when you were in the stands watching, who were you rooting for?
Richie Evans and Fred DeZero. I mean, those guys were just they were idols, man. They were true idols, man. And they were gentlemen. You turn around, you know, intermission, you watch them in the pits, they're working their guts out. They were racers.
Hey, speaking of gentlemen and idols and racers, our buddy Marlon Troyer.
Marlon Yoder.
I'm sorry. I did it. And that's what I was
You
trying.
did it that first night. Bless your heart, David. I know it was a mistake.
That's what
Marlon Yoder won the other night at Tri-City Motors.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were just
Speedway.
talking about the names, and I said something else, but we were just talking about that. And I was trying to think of that other name. And so Marlon Yoder won at the track the other night. And he
put a lesson on him. He put a whipping on him.
I've been watching that.
And you've heard it over the radio plenty of times. And what will the tower call down and tell you to stop doing? Don't be stinking up our show.
Yeah, I've heard that before, yeah.
Marlon got carried away. I guess Lauren Rainier was spotting for him, saying, back it down.
Back it down, yeah.
he did pretty good, huh?
Yeah, well, hey.
He was on cloud nine. We had a little
So I'll put the link to that video right up here.
Yeah, put the pedal to the metal. That's what it's all about. So
hey,
the best thing is when you wreck somebody else's weekend. Meaning, I'm going to wreck their weekend by winning. So. And
our friend Paul Rodriguez, he ran 149.55 mile an hour in the NASCAR racing experience.
Good for him. Right. Cool.
Have you ever drove a race car around?
I drove a race car one time. A friend up in Lebanon Valley, New York. A friend of mine. We both had a modified dirt car. And long story short. He was out of town that weekend. So I was like, oh, I can handle this. We had guys that wanted to go racing, and we drug it up to Lebanon Valley, and I'll drive it. And they put me on the pole for the heat, and I went to the handicapper saying, don't do it. Put me in the back of the heat. Yeah. And off they went. Green flag came, and the cars took off into turn one, and I'm thinking, oh, my God, they're going to pass me in like 30 seconds. And I go into turn one, and 2 cars spun out. And first thing I did, not being an experienced race car driver, and a good friend of mine says, whatever you do, don't hit the brake. Don't hit the brake. Whatever you do, don't hit the brake. Well, guess what I did? I hit the brake.
Instinctually.
Instinct, right. I went up to the wall, slapped the wall, killed the car, bent the tube, the Heims, all that stuff. And so I won a quarter lap. So that was my racing career. But I enjoy working on them because I just know I'm not a race car driver.
Yeah.
Didn't you, at any time, did you ever run any of those mechanics races?
No.
Remember in the 90s?
Yeah,
Danny Cameron and them put them together, I think.
I know Jeff Bice won a couple. But I know, I think I was in 1 or 2, but I
got to run twice in them.
Yeah,
you know why? Because they wanted pictures in the scene. I says, hey,
I'll
I'll do a double page photo spread of all pictures. You let me run in it.
There you go. Perfect. There you go.
Yeah.
No, I'm not a race car driver. Never claimed to be. I enjoy racing. I the competitive fire burns in me. I enjoy my labors of the hauling it to the racetrack, working on the car, doing what I do. I enjoy that because I just know I'm just not a race car driver.
It's kind of what the dream we all have as a young kid. And then you and I got to a certain point and we've experienced everything we could have dreamed of. And we know that we can't do that. So I'm good at where I'm at.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah.
I couldn't ask for more.
Right. And being in the environment we are, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I've met a lot of great drivers who I would never ever take that away. Enjoy every bit of it and treasure every aspect of that of every driver I ever worked with.
So what brought you from Connecticut down here at that point? What was that turning point?
Believe it or not, my wife Susie, we wanted to get married. I was burnt out of racing. I was like, I want to get married. I just want to start a life. I was ready, and I tried looking at houses, and my mom, God rest her soul, she's like, Peter, that house is 40 years old. That house is 40 years old. Don't buy that house. That house is 40 years old. So my brother moved to South Carolina, into Columbia, and long story short, he says, come on down. So I come down one weekend, and he gave me the grand tour of everything.
And he had a 10-year-old house.
Yeah, exactly. But he took me to Charlotte, and he gave me tickets to all the races, and my wife came down, and like, this is great. This is cool. We want to move here.
What year was that?
87.
That's when I came down. I came down for the first time with my wife to 87 to watch the Winston.
Yeah. That's where we come down. You probably still understand somewhere.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, enjoyed it, but we just didn't want to move to Columbia just because we had a family friend that I went to school with in Concord area, and she showed us around, and we're like, we like it here. So I went to my brother and said, hey, we want to move here, but we just don't want to come to Columbia. We want to move to Charlotte. He goes, good, because I'm moving to the mountains anyway. Yeah. So it worked out for both of us, and we've been here since, so I got started in really 88. We got down here and bought a house, or actually bought a trailer, and my wife and I, just started. No intention to get in a race, and I was done, but I was driving a steel truck throughout the deal during the day, and at night I was getting bored. I'm like, okay, nothing to do. Well, that's when Kawicki and Rusty Wallace and Bobby Ellis was building those shops across the racetrack. And I said, well, I'm going to go over there and see what's going on. So I got pounding on the door, and Alan's like, yeah, I could use it to clean toilets and mop floors and wash machinery, and started right from the bottom. And that's kind of how I started.
Yeah, Kawicki shop was right there too.
It was right. I used to call that Calamity Corner because it was just a lot of chaos happened there. But that was Calamity Corner. Dave Rosendi's shop was there. But that was a cool little area. Humphrey tried to make that the new Mooresville Business Park.
Right. Yeah.
And it never really took off. But I always call it a Calamity Corner because it was just cool. 4 teams, they were all different, but it was a neat little area right there.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot happened there. To bring a championship there, that was cool.
Yeah. So Brett Troutman says he was born in 87. So so whenever who was your first team that you worked for in NASCAR, and how did you get started in it?
I was driving a steel truck.
Yeah.
And, of course, I got to go to a lot of these little local machine shops, whatnot, plus some race shops. And I said, well, this is kind of cool. So I got to kind of know where some of these shops were. But back then, it was more mysterious. They didn't have the big shops, the receptionists.
Right.
You didn't even know it was a race shop half the time. And there's only 2 people that really I got to talk to was Robert Yates and Alan. But Alan was at the shop more. Robert was always at the dyno. You can never really get a hold of him.
Yeah.
But Alan was at the shop one day, and I just said, hey, man, you need any help, let me know. And Alan's like, okay, what can you do? And Alan was the biggest talent scout ever. That's why people couldn't work for Alan, because he was always looking for talent.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And that's when I started cleaning bathrooms and cleaning floors and
whatever it took. Huh?
And Alan was really my first gig in a NASCAR.
Yeah.
And after his new shop, he got me to the open house, And that was just like my pay. And he goes, well, I got to give you something for being there. I said, well, can you get me to Charlotte? I'd love to get to Charlotte. And because he opened it around the 600 weekend. And I said, can you get me to Charlotte? I'd love to go. And he got me in, got me a pit pass, and I just hung out his truck, and one thing led to another. I was kind of wiping on the car and picking up things and just trying to fit in the best I could. And I forget where he finished in that race. I couldn't even tell you. And so I went to Alan, and I said, hey, what's my future at Alan Quickie Racing? He says, your future looks pretty good. He says, I'll see you in the van, Dover. Because the next race was Dover. Yeah. And I was in a van heading to Dover, Delaware. And ever since then, I've been pretty much going to the racetrack.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what did Susie say when you came home and you're like, honey, I'm going on the road?
Well, I'll be honest with you. My wife and my mom, they were the biggest supporters I ever had. They were like, if you don't do it, Peter, you're going to regret it. Yeah. Sure. You know, if you do it 6 months, you do it 5 minutes, you do it 50 years. Go for it. My wife and my mom, God, I say, keep bringing my mom up because I lost my dad early, and she was my mommy and dad. Sure. But Susie and my mom were the biggest supporters I had, and they said go for it. And here it is, 30-something years later, I'm still at it. And,
wow.
And she's still there, buddy. She's a good lady.
She's a great lady, and I couldn't do it without her. She's a big supporter.
Yeah. And how about that beautiful little daughter of yours, Jennifer?
Oh, yeah, you're making me cry here. Now stop. And Jennifer.
Who was that, Roy Firestone? I got you. You Jennifer, beautiful little doll. Look at that picture I took of her.
Yeah.
How old was she there? 9 years old?
Oh, I'll pull those pictures up.
That was 2009, I remember.
Yeah, that was at Charlotte. Yeah, I think it was the Winston. We went for the with the pit stop deal. I was trying to explain.
Yeah.
Because she saw it a lot on TV, and it's hard to explain about it. I said, let's go. Now she could experience it live.
Right.
But like I said, you come to my house, man, there's drag racing, there's F1, there's motorcycle. If there's racing on, we have it on. Yeah. And she understands. She's followed all my racing drivers. She's followed my career. It's funny. I bring a new shirt home. Dad, she wears my jackets to dance. She wears my shirts to school.
Yeah. Well, she's 15 now.
I know. She's gonna be driving here for long, but she's my supporter, man. She's my hero. She's my rock.
She's a sweetheart.
She's a good girl. She gets it.
My uncle, excuse me, Tracy, can you ask that question? Okay. My uncle Randy says, I'd like to know how Peter got started driving the haulers, and didn't he drive the Interstate Batteries hauler after the Hooters?
That a question to ask? Answer?
That's for you. Yeah. Go for it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. How I started, like I said, Alan gave me, it started off as, Alan said, you can come around. I was cleaning wheels, washing the truck. Kenneth was their truck driver at the time, and he was the front end guy, and he was trying to, he couldn't just get away. He couldn't get away. There was testing. There was this and that. So I said, well, Alan, if you take care of me for what I'm going to lose for a day's work, I'll take your truck testing. Well, that was North Wilkesboro. That was our big test area. And I was like, okay, I kept Kenneth at the shop, and I said, you know what? I said, talk to Kenneth going, hey, on this Dover, Poconos, those kind of racetracks, I says, if I jump in a van, I can help you drive back, get you back quicker. You're more valuable at the shop. So Alan's like, oh, heck yeah, because that's how Alan was. He was all about logistics and logic and all that.
Yeah.
And
sure.
So when Junior Johnson started that second team with Sterling, with Maxwell's car, Kenneth was up in that area. He goes, man, he says, Pete, I have a chance to go work for Junior Johnson. He says, what do you think? I says, hey, man, go for it. So he went to Alan, and he pushed hard to get me to do that deal. Of course, I was like, oh, gee, I don't know. But that's where Susie and my mom was very supportive. And me and Alan come to agreement, and I took it. So that's how it started. And then, of course, when Alan, several years with Alan and had his accident, and then Jeff bought the team, and I stayed, and, things were good there. But things changed, and Maycar and Labonte and Gibbs offered me a job over there, and I says, I got to take it.
So going from Alan Quickie to Jeff Bodine, there's a big difference.
There was a big difference.
Yeah. I mean, people don't know how Alan Quickie was, but he was regimented. There was nothing more important. He would turn around. I got chewed out for just kind of asking him to pose for a picture once. That was so not important. I found out immediately.
Alan was very regiment, he was a great guy. He really was. At the shop, he loved the families. He called Susie the pasta cook and mama because she loved his spaghetti. He loved the kids. He didn't have a family.
Yeah.
So his guy's family was his family, but we worked our guts out for that man. But he knew it. He took. I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people don't realize is I wanted to buy a house. And I said, Alan, I don't know if I could do it, man. I don't know if I could come work for you. And he says, if this sponsorship don't work, he says, I'll pay your mortgage. Alan said that. I mean, he had a heart. He really, Alan was a great guy, but he was all business, man. That's what and that's what I say a lot of people don't understand. When, I can't work for the guy. I worked a couple hours. I work half. He drove you nuts for the first 2 or 3 months. But
see if you could take it.
Right. Right. See if you could take it. He found out what your strengths were, what your weaknesses were. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what the freaky part was when he finally had his trust in you, he didn't come around no more. And all of a sudden you're looking over your shoulder going, where's Alan?
That's right.
You didn't know where. But once he gained your trust, you were golden. Yeah. But he had a court. But you know what? 91 and 92, every guy that worked for him were racers. They were guys that owned cars, had cars before. They were all on Alan's page.
Right, sure.
And that's what Alan wanted. That's what he was looking for. He wanted true racers that were dedicated, work hard, and on the same page with Alan was. And
it's like you said, he scouted around and knew who he wanted.
Exactly.
Well, he was a very smart guy, engineer.
Well, I could tell you a story about what happened at Rockingham would blow your mind because I still can't think of it.
Hold on to that thought for just a second because I wanted to read a comment. I think it was from, let's see here. I have to go back and find it. I'm not sure if Tracy and Phil are seeing all the same comments I am, but
I had
Peter,
to refresh it. I see them now.
Pamela Furness says Peter does have the most beautiful daughter and it gives her more sunshine than Hawaii ever could.
She's in Hawaii.
Oh, yeah. And I put the picture of her up here.
You know who that is?
No.
It's my sister-in-law.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart.
I figure she's probably family.
Yeah, that's my wife. Yeah, Pamela's a sweetheart.
And I
she's in Hawaii.
Yeah. How about that?
She's a sweetheart.
And I got a message from Eddie Young. He says, "Tell Rabbit, me and a bunch of JGRs are watching. Good times."
Well, cool. And I miss them. Good. I was there just the other day. Yep. They're good people. And people at JGR, I miss that place a lot. But KBM has been looking after us just as well. So
I worked with a lot of guys that ended up over at JGR, especially in the engine shop.
Yep. Oh yeah, I worked with Mark could tell me. Yeah, Mark. I enjoyed the engine shop. The engine shop was fun.
Mark Kirk.
Mark Concourse. Yep. I enjoy Mark. Yep.
He used to be my neighbor.
Really?
Actually, yes.
Okay. Yeah, Mark. I just saw Mark the other day. Because Truex drove our truck up at Bristol.
Okay.
So I brought the seat and the steering box back to them guys, and I saw Mark.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I saw Mark. I ran him down. Actually, he was walking around. I said, "Don't you walk away from me."
Man, he's been there forever.
Mark's good man. Mark's good person.
He come down from Alaska. I think
but you know what? He gave me a good break. He understood. He's like, hey man, these guys know. He gets it. He's a racer. I mean, he's a racer. That's what's missing nowadays is racers.
So someone's asking, does Peter have any Big John Yook?
That's Scott Trevison.
John Young.
Oh, okay. So I've getting
Big John.
Big John.
Yeah. Oh, Big John from Pennsylvania.
The best cook.
The good cook,
well,
man.
He was
hey,
our
John.
cook at Sabco. So,
yeah, John. He works for Stuart now. Hey, John.
I've got his cookbook.
Yeah, I see John every once in a while. He's hooked me up with a couple things every now and then.
That was Scott.
Oh
okay.
yeah, I always stop in and say, John, I've got to taste test something here.
Yeah, John.
Hot dog test.
John's good boy. Yep, John's good man.
What were you talking about, Rockingham?
We were testing there one time, and long story short, Alan never wanted to time the car like at a guard's barrel or a light pole. He wanted to time the car at the start-finish line because he was time management. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to waste a lap. You go out, time him, he wants to come in. So I'd have to run down. I was doing the stopwatch. So I would have to say, call his times. So I'd run back. If you do that, we never tested one car either. We always tested two cars. This trim issue in this car, this gear in this car, this rear in this car, this motor. He didn't wanted it because we didn't have a lot of cars. We only had 4 or 5, 6 cars. I can't remember how many. He had 6 cars maybe.
Yeah.
And we're always running back and forth. And you had to be there when he got there. Now, granted, this was probably a long time ago. I couldn't do it now. I'm out of breath. And somewhere along the line, I used to do all the neat stuff. Measuring shock travels and stuff. And the guys, we always put the book in the back of the car. And that's where we always knew where the book would be and looked at notes. Well, somewhere along the line, I got the books mixed up. Oh, and I'm thinking, oh, man, now what? And they got to tell him.
Yeah.
You can't lie. It's like, oh, God, now what?
Oh, sure.
So he comes in. I go, whoa, Alan, stop. I go, somewhere along the line, dude, I says, I messed the books up, and I don't know what to tell you. He goes, all right, when do you think you messed up? I says, about 4 or 5 runs ago. He took all the notes from both books, laid them on the deck lid of the car, scratching this off, moving this, changing this page, looking at this, all in his head. I mean, and I don't know how he did it. And I'm sitting there going, oh, he's going to be so mad. And he just very calmly just put everything in. He goes, okay, mark this book, this car, mark this book, this car, and never skipped a beat.
Oh, that's cool.
And the man was a machine.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
The man was a machine. I don't know how I'm like, how did he do that?
Yeah.
But that's how he was. And it's just those are the things. His mind just was always turning. Sometimes it was turning so fast you had to slow him down because he wanted it one way. And I told him one day, I says, Alan, I says, if you go clockwise to put a tire on and I'll go counterclockwise, what difference does it make as long as the tire gets tight? And he's like, well, I never thought of it that way. But he had in his head how a certain thing should have been, how it should be. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you had to just it was kind of like, we asked him one day, hey, man, we could use another welder. Well, what do you need a welder for? And he thought you just wanted another welder because we just wanted another welder.
Right.
Well, no, Alan, you got a guy in the front welding something, and we have to drag it to the back, wait for the guy to finish up what he's doing, and move all the hoses. And I said, well, that takes time.
Right.
Not me, but we said that takes time. He goes, well, really, I never thought about that. Well, go out and get the best welder you could find. When he saw a logic to something, he didn't care. Get the best you can get. Like, I needed trailer tires. Nope, can't get them. What do you need them for? Well, in case we blow a tire, are they good? No, they're still good. But okay, keep going. Well, what do you need tires for? Well, if I blow a tire and, we're going to be late for a race, or I knock a brake canister off or something. Oh boy. Well, okay, go get the best 8 tires you can find.
Right.
When he saw a logic to something, I mean, the guy was just
Methodical.
Yeah, he was just a machine. I mean,
you could just tell from being around him, he was that way.
Yeah, wrapping up the cords to keeping the truck clean. To car. I can remember at Wilkesboro, we'd make changes, and you could hear the belts clinking off the. You could hear the belts clinking off the car. He's getting out of the car. He's going to make a chassis adjustment. He wouldn't take his helmet off. Took too much time. He yelled at me one time. Not yelled at me, but he's like, I was putting caps and plugs together. You put a cap plug off and changing a carburetor. He goes, what are you doing? I said, well, keep them together so they don't get lost. He goes, no, keep them separate. It takes too much time to take them apart. Yeah. That's how it's like,
right. Every little second.
Every little second meant something to him,
Yeah, about that.
You do have a comment from Paul Mahaldo. He says, in all his years at the track, Peter was the staple, always smiling and willing to talk about anything. He always went out of his way to say hey to you.
Well, I've always tried to, you make friends along the way.
Sure.
And
Paul's a great guy.
Yeah, I've always said hi to everybody, and sometimes it kind of gets me in trouble, but I'm going to say hi to everybody. That's just the way I am. So hi.
Yeah.
So after all that regimented time with Alan, you come to the 92 season. And things are so, and you get to Dover in the fall. You want to talk about that weekend, Peter, and let everybody know how the points championship totally seemed to be gone at that point. You guys lost, 3 cars at Dover
that weekend, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have to send somebody back. Tell that story.
Well, real quick, one car went into court. Practice started, and he bottomed out into, I think, one. And he went in one, boom, and back to 12. Killed it. Okay, get the backup out. Okay, so off we go. And, of course, back then, backup cars weren't 100% prepared like they, because we only had 5 or 6 cars. Like I said, I'll tell you another story about backup cars, but
change engines
no, we didn't change engines. We had cars that weren't even prepared. We had to change everything from the shop. I mean, we didn't have enough suspension stuff. Oh, we had to take stuff off the backup car, put it in the next car to go back in the truck. But anyways, we go out there, and second practice goes out there, and the secondary's hung up. The secondaries on the carburetor hung up, and boom, he plows. I think turn 3. I think kills the car. So we're all standing there going, now what? So we knew guys were coming up the next day, so we make a phone call back to the shop, and I don't remember what car. I think it was 08, which was, I think it was our Atlanta Charlotte car. Bring that car up. So the guys come up in the trailer, and we sat out happy hour. We're sitting there going, twiddling our thumbs, and we're like, okay, this is not fun. We shouldn't be doing it. We had no cars, And, well, sure enough, the guys come up, and we get the car the next morning. We throw a motor in it, and off we go. And I think we end up crashing that race too. We killed 5 cars in one year. Yeah. That year. And after that, he come out. He come to the truck, and he was pretty dejected. He was pretty bummed. We all were,
you fell way behind in the points too. Then
well, we were like less than 300, but it was like 270 something. I don't remember the actual number. 276, maybe 274 or whatever. And we're like, God, man. Well, at the time, they didn't have the crossover. They just had, the guys could just go out the front stretch on the start-finish line. They could go home. So I was stuck there at the truck, So I'm like, all right, well, whatever. I can't leave. And the score comes down after the race, and I looked at the score sheet, and we only dropped like 33 points, I think, behind Gant. So we went from like 3rd to 4th or something.
That's a long race, too.
Yeah, it was a long race. I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is, I can't wait to get out of here. Yeah. But when I looked at the score sheet, I'm going, wow, this ain't bad. We only dropped 33 points, and we only dropped once. We figured we just dropped like a rock,
Right.
But we didn't drop that many. So I get home, and I'm not saying it was me, but I'm just saying, got back to the shop. I'm like, guys, hey, check this out. And everyone just got really excited. Like, hey, man, we're still in this deal.
Yeah.
So the guys all did their thing, which our thing was just our thing. We just, we were just a misfit. We just did what we had to do. Right. And Alan saw the enthusiasm in the guy. He just saw nobody down. He didn't see nobody bummed out. He didn't see any attitude. We just put a nose in the grindstone. And all of a sudden, Alan just got like rejuvenated. He just like, wow, man, okay. He never said it. He never showed it, but you could just see the wheels and we just kept digging, but we just kept telling each other, let's not change what got us here. Let's not change what got us here. And we saw Rusty had issues. He had a battery issue, I think, at Phoenix, and I could be wrong. And then Elliott had a problem, but he had a motor problem. And guys they started having their issue. We just kept digging. It's like, hey, if we finish, we finish. We don't. It is what it is. Right. But we just kept doing what got us there. Don't change what got us there. Yep. But because everybody said, what is next week? Well, guess what? When Atlanta gets there, there's no more next weeks.
Right, yeah.
Well, we just kept, but Alan saw the enthusiasm after Dover that the guys, hey, man, we just never gave up. Just kept doing our thing.
That's great.
Dawn, let's see, Suzette McGuire says, definitely awesome stories, loving it, very cool and interesting. So James Smith's tuned in, and Dawn Clark here in Statesville, and Kathy Cash, and the Troutmans. And then Scott and Jenner do you know the beer man down in Florida?
The beer man.
Beer man, Scott Trevison. He was the Coors Light beer man.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was thinking beer man Dennis Ritchie to drive the 6-truck. Yeah.
Right, yeah. There's another
he's still working for Junior, yeah.
Yeah, and then Rachel's down in Charlotte. Sissy Odell here in Statesville.
Cool. Well, hello, everybody.
Yes, and Richard Bostic's tuned in as well.
Hello, Richard.
But he sends me a text. He said, just got in listening. Have you asked Peter Rabbit how he got his name yet? He's a good guy. And I guess we're getting close to that point. I mean, before we forget. Just jump right in. How'd you get your name? It was actually something else before Peter Rabbit, though, right?
It was Peter Cottontail. Yeah, it's not a crazy story, but a family friend had a trucking company that had hay and shavings, and he had a grain store. It was good friends of my family, and he always, hey, Peter Cottontail. It was always Peter Cottontail. And I just like, okay, I guess that's it. That's what it is, Of course, I was a little fella, and I thought I was cool, And long story short, I worked for him several years, and things changed, and I moved along to a milk company up in Connecticut, and I was hauling milk around, and I was still Peter Cottontail, and a good dispatcher up there, he just, one day, Joe Derry, that's his name, and he goes, hey, Peter Rabbit, and 3 or 4 truck drivers heard that, and it just kind of stuck, and I'm like, well, I kind of like Peter Rabbit, instead of Cottontail, so I just left it at Peter Rabbit, and just kind of one thing led to another, and I'm Peter Rabbit. So,
how about that?
And Peter Rabbit's cool. So
and that was your CB handle?
It's my CB handle. Everybody calls me by Rabbit. My door, my truck says Rabbit, and I just, I'm Peter Rabbit. So
you know who else I see? The last one of the regime from when we were around real early is still around there, and I give him, hey, Thumper. Thumper's still out there. Tom McCrimmon.
Yeah, he's still at Gibbs. Yeah, he's driving. I guess he's doing the 18 now.
Yeah, and then I see Zippy.
Zippy's still around.
Zippy's around.
Yeah,
he's not at the track, but he's around.
He's around. Yeah. Oh yeah. I see them guys every now and then. It's good to see them fights.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then Cool.
Yeah. Cool. Yep.
Cool.
Oh yeah. Richard Bostic. Yeah. Well, he's my co-driver.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been helping me out. So he's been helping me some of
y'all were on your way. Was it Vegas when you called, or Bostic called me?
Yeah, it was Vegas. Yes, sir.
And then I talked to you.
Yep.
On y'all were on your way down the road.
We finished second that day. Yep.
Oh yeah, good.
Yep.
And you won this past weekend.
Won this past year. Yep. And we won Atlanta the week before that. So we're KBM's on a roll right now. So
good roll.
And your driver is?
Well, we got a bunch right now. We have Drew Dollar. We got Kyle. We have Truex. We have Parker Chase. Mm-hmm. And right now we got a couple open seats. We don't. The 51s is it's just kind of whoever. Yeah. I couldn't tell you who's the rest of the year, but
Scott Felthausen.
Scott Felthausen.
I think he drives the truck too, or has at some point.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Might have been Arca or something. Also, he says if Mr. Peter Rabbit didn't get started in racing and had to have a real job, what would he be doing today?
Oh boy. Oh, that's a good question. Well, I like trucks. I like cars. I guess anything just to keep busy. I never thought about that, to be honest with you.
When you moved down here, were you doing another job as you were helping Alan at the start?
I was driving a steel truck.
Okay.
See, that's the thing is this family friend got me how to drive truck. I was driving truck when I was like 10 years old, and he'd have loads of hay going down there, like mulching the side of the highway, and he'd be feeding the mulcher, and the guy'd be out there blowing the mulch out, and I'd be out going on the highway on the shoulder, and he's like, okay, just stay on the shoulder. Yeah. That's how I learned how to drive, So, so to answer that fella's question, I don't know what I'd be doing. I at the end of the day, it's just, as long as I get something, I just like to keep busy. Yeah. I don't know if I never thought about that, to be honest with you.
Follow the path.
Dickie Dennis says hello to you as well, Peter Rabbit. And do you know Dickie Dennis?
Dickie Dennis. Think about that for a minute. He's famous. I was looking for him this weekend when I was at South Boston. He told me he might be there. Dickie Dennis, infamous fence climber at Richmond. Remember the guy who climbed the fence at Richmond?
Guy. I don't know who the guy was.
That's Dickie Dennis.
No, Dickie, I don't.
Yeah, Dickie, where were you? I thought you're coming to South Boston to watch the Southern Modifieds.
Yeah, he told me something about that.
Well, I heard that's been pretty good racing up there.
Yeah, that Smart Tour is nice. We had Ryan Priest winning Saturday at South Boston. Bobby Labonte's in there. You got the Myers brothers.
It's some good racing. Yeah. Bert spotted for us when we had the K-9 car at, of all places, Bowman Gray with Max Gresham.
Oh,
and I'm telling you what a spotter.
Madhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, you talk about, because we never had a true spotter, because every race we went, we just got whoever we could. Well, Bert was in his fire suit because he ran the modified after this. And he's up there and he's standing on the stands, because they had a little spot for the guys. We had a flat tire, we thought, then had to go in the pits, behind the changing station there, which we didn't have a flat, so we're in the back. And he got Max up to third place. I'm thinking, man, that was a trip to watch that car and listen to Bert Myers on the radio and to watch him jump in the modified. I don't forget we finished him up, but that's
he's a good guy.
Yeah, that Smart Tour is good. And it's good to see the modifieds just doing better and better.
That Smart Tour. You all need to get into that Southern Modified Auto Racing Tour. It's just revived in the 2021 season. Chris Williams, go ahead and got the series going. It's fantastic. I think they're doing 11 or 12 races this year, so they're on Facebook.
Phil, is there any TV or any kind of radio that people can
Speed
listen to?
51 is carrying it, streaming it every weekend.
All right, cool. Is there a place people can get a hold of that? Or?
Yeah, it's probably Speed 51 or the Smart Tour or SMART, Southern Modified Auto
I tell you,
Racing
the modifieds are it's
fantastic
NASCAR's
racing.
oldest division, and
Bobby Labonte's doing the whole tour, and he loves it.
Yep. Bobby's a great guy, man. Worked with him for 10 years, man. He's a true gentleman.
Yeah. It's a good acronym there, right? Smart.
Yeah. Smart racing.
That's pretty smart.
Where's that leave us? I don't know where that ended up this.
I don't know. It's a great, those modifieds they call the ground pounders.
They're bad
they're
cars,
700, 800, 900 horsepower. They're just
tires.
Monsters.
Yeah.
Open wheels,
just
low
a cool
profile.
looking car. Just a cool looking car. Open headers. Air cleaner coming out, carburetor coming out the hood.
I think we need to get an engine from Jersey Cape Yachts. Get a hold of Wayne Pugliese up there in New Jersey. That's our sponsor, Jersey Cape Yachts.
Yes.
Yeah, they have custom yachts they make. So we can get one of them engines and put it in a modified, right, Wayne?
Yes.
Wayne.
If it can pass tech, go for it.
Yeah, the owner of Jersey Cape Yachts, Wayne Pugliese, he ran in the modified series against Everham up at Wall Stadium. He was a series champion in 89. Was it 88 or 89? I think 89. Wayne was the series champion up there at Wall.
That's cool. Nothing wrong with that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll
Cool.
get him in here one of these days, but that's where you see the Jersey Cape Yachts, him and Jennen up there.
Yep.
So
that's
check
awesome.
them out on their Facebook, Instagram, and they have a YouTube and LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Check them out. So, and
cool beans. Cool beans.
You can also get apparel. I didn't wear mine today. Tracy actually wore hers, your Jersey Cape Yacht shirt.
Yes, we have the pretty young Tracy up back there. I don't think we even introduced her hiding. The best looking gal in the room out of all the gals.
She don't have much to say tonight. Yeah. What are you doing over there?
Oh, just reading comments.
Reading comments. All right. You got any questions or anything there?
No, not yet. No comment or no questions. But
what's
we have a lot
KBM
of
like
comments.
now? Or you got to tell us about Gibbs when you started working over there, Gibbs.
Oh, Gibbs. Started in '96, made car, and I got talking to him. And long story short, he's like, I need a truck driver because his truck driver moved on. And that was long before the second team came along, and I was like, wow, and that was over at Twin Lakes, and single car team, and it was interesting because it was a whole different deal that I was used to.
Sure.
And Jimmy and the guys took me right into the wing, and Bobby, and my first race, I remember going to Pocono, and I think what happened, I think Bobby got taken out that race. I couldn't remember what happened. I think he got hit.
But their backup cars had parts on them, right?
But they had much more parts.
That's what I was used to as well.
Yeah, it was a little different than what Alan was, and I'll tell you that story later. But no, it was fun. And then of course, here comes now they're starting a second team with Tony, and wow, this is interesting because I wasn't used to that, but man, Tony Stewart fit right in, and Bobby was. And what the cool thing about that interview was. It was the day after Memorial, after the 600, and Jimmy's like, come in, I want to talk to you. I got to talk to him, I got to talk to Bobby, and I got to talk to Joe. And I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty wild right here, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, those are three influential people right there, you know? And I'm sitting in front of Joe Gibbs' desk, and I'm like, I didn't know what to say to the guy. I was like, I was not starstruck, but I was like, wow, this guy's.
Oh, yeah. Big
Hit me,
time.
coach.
Kind of a
Hit me.
big deal.
Yeah.
Right.
And I tell you, I couldn't get home fast enough. And my wife's like, how'd you make out? I says, I know where I'm starting Monday. I says, because he's like, I win with, people.
Yeah.
I win, God. And racing comes third. And I said, man, this is the guy I want to work for. And hey, I was there 22 years. And it wasn't about a month later, he goes, I want to give you a contract. And that's when Joe was into all the contract stuff. And I said, Joe, and I still have the contract to this day. Of course, I got to find it, but I have it.
Yeah.
And I says, Joe, you hired me without a contract? And I said, I'm going to leave without a contract. I said, I don't need a contract.
Yeah.
I says, your word is all I need.
Yeah.
And we shook hands, and I'll tell you, that man has put food on my table, and we won races, we won championships, and he is never, ever. I mean, there was that when I first started there, I mean, he'd come down 7 o'clock in the morning, he'd have a coffee in his hand, he'd sit behind the truck, hey, how was your trip? How was this? Can I get you anything? When he was still doing football, he'd come in the truck. He was tired. He'd lay down in the truck. He'd wake me up an hour for the race. We'd talk. I mean,
that's cool.
It was cool. We got close. And Joe's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a great Christian.
Oh yeah.
Just a good person. The whole family is phenomenal.
So I had Eddie Young on here as well. And he was telling me all the good things about Joe, except for this one thing. I'm just kidding.
If you can find one thing about Joe, but no, Joe he's a true. And when things changed, and when the motor stuff changed, and because I was in a motor shop for a while, and things changed, he took care of the guys that were in that motor deal, and he understood it, and it was hard on him. And I didn't really see that, but talking to some of the people in the offices, and they're like, Joe, it hit him hard, But Joe is a true gentleman. He took care of us. He took care of our families, and he just didn't leave us hanging. I mean, and not just monetary wise. I mean, he's like, if you didn't take our toolboxes, he said the keys. I mean, like I said, I went the other day and dropped off Truex's seat, and I walked right in there like I never left the place.
Right.
There's no hard feelings. There's everyone's, hey, how you doing? What's up? Walked in, I know where I was going.
Yeah.
And there's a good rapport there, So the guys just.
Well, like you said earlier, and people ask me what's Joe Gibbs like. I says, well, if you approach him and just ask him about racing or football, you're going to get a quick reaction. But if you want to talk about the Lord, he will stand there as long as you want to talk about it.
Exactly.
Well,
I says, when you meet him, if not ask him for an autograph or shake his hand, he will give you a miniature little brochure about his faith. And I said, but that's Joe Gibbs.
Joe Gibbs.
And that's the most important thing. And I've heard from so many people that have worked for him that say, he will absolutely take you away from racing and help you if you need help with anything at all.
Anything.
That is most important, whether it's you single, you and your wife, anything like that. That's the most important thing.
And the things that he's done over, and a couple of people, we lost a couple of people along the way,
Right.
but he's been to the wakes. He's been there supporting people. He's like I say, he was there for us when the motor shop shut down. I mean, that was not to say the motor shop didn't shut down, but when they made changes there. He was there, man. He's just he gets it. He's a true gentleman.
That's like you always see after the races. They're always huddling down, saying a prayer after the race.
That's real.
That's he's a real deal. I mean, you could, and I'm not saying I could go over his house right now, but I guarantee I could probably call him and say, Joe, I need your help. He'd help me. And he that's how he is, and he's just a good person.
So right quick, I'm gonna before we get away from this, that we were talking about the truck and you driving it around Bristol. I'm gonna pop that picture on there, Phil, if you want to tell us a little bit about this. All right, so
That's
it's on
tough
there.
to talk about. You want to make me cry now.
Yes.
What are you, Roy Firestone?
Now we're going back. I just don't want to forget this before we start.
It was just
keep rolling.
I mean, that was the 2nd of April. It was the day after Alan had had a tragic.
It was April 1st.
Was it the 1st?
April 1st, yes,
I thought
sir.
he crashed on the 1st.
Well, you're probably right. And then
It was the morning of the 2nd.
The morning of 2nd. You're right. Yes. You're right.
I remember it was rainy that morning and real cold and very quiet in the infield.
Oh yeah. Can I lead up to that? Can I give you a quick
absolutely.
Lead up? All right, real quick. That whole week, the week before that, we tested North Wilkesboro. Okay, we tested Tuesday. Well, we get up there because we went to Wilkesboro because it was close, cheap. It was in Allen. It was close. Long story short, we get there and an oil line was left loose. Happens or come loose, whatever. I don't know what happened. It was just an oil line was loose. He hauled the track down. Him and another guy walks the track. No big deal. Everything was fine. They laughed. They kidded. They cleaned it up. We go testing.
Yeah.
We did our thing. And I don't even know. We changed everything but the number that day. Come home. The next day was Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Everybody's in the shop. The car is sitting in the fab shop. I can see this car to this day. It's nosed in the fab shop. And it's up on jack stands. And we're all cleaning it. And who's this guy? 7 o'clock, coffee in his hand. He's got a sweater on. He's in there. He's touching this. He's wiping this. Alan's never there at 7 o'clock in the morning. And like, we're all looking at each other like, what's this guy doing here? You know? But he hates his car. And he was there laughing. He's in a good mood. Everything's good. Okay, we get the car done, clean it up. We put it on the plate. Thursday, me, Tony put on grain scales. Because we had grain scales back then. Me, Tony, and Alan were setting it up. The guy's doing the thing. Everybody else is doing whatever they're doing. And car's ready to go. Okay, I got to go out and do pit stops. Well, we used that car for the pit stop practice. So back then we only had a makeshift wall. We had wood, took it out with a hand truck, and I bring the pit box out, and I drove the car to do the pit stops, because I was a catch can man. But we did pit stops. Well, he had his briefcase there, and he had it by the door, and he puts it by the door, by the side door all the time by his car, and it sat there. Well, Alan, we got to go. And he goes in the office. Hey, Alan, you got to go. And he goes in the back. Alan, you got to go. He did that for like 15 times, like 100 times. Excuse me. And he did. I'm like, Alan, you got to go. Well, all right, guys, he grabs his briefcase. He goes, all right, see you later. And that was the last we saw of him. So we do our pit stops, no big deal. We pack everything up the road we go. And I'm going up 81, and I had Tony in the truck with me. Because Tony rode me. And I heard on the CB radio, hey, hear about that airplane? And they didn't, of course, say it to me, but like, hey, you heard about that airplane that crashed? And we're like, of course, I heard on the CB, because we didn't have cell phones. I'm like, what about that airplane? And they're like, yeah, it was a racing airplane. So I'm thinking, okay, so I get on the radio again, like, well, I need to hear more about this racing airplane. And I'm thinking Rusty, because Rusty at the time was the only one that really had an airplane at the time. So I'm thinking, oh, man, Rusty's plane had a problem, And long story short, we get off. Well, Tony says, you got to stop. Well, we find a phone booth. Find a phone booth back then. We found a phone booth. He calls his wife and say, hey, man, just to let you know, because they were supposed to be in that plane because they wanted to do pit stops. They weren't. Yeah. And he wanted to just let her know that, hey, I'm in the truck. Everything's cool. So we go to the motel thinking nothing of it. And I get there, and there's a Johnson City cop sitting at the motel. And I'm thinking, what's up with that? What's a cop doing here? And then, of course, the guy at the desk was a little, not weird, but you could tell he was, like, nervous. And I'm thinking, trying to put two and two together, and one thing leads to another. And then Paul calls, and he says, hey, I'm at the airport. Don't know what's going to go on. Stand by. Well, now we start hearing more on TV. Of course, like I said, we didn't have cell phones, and news media wasn't as fluent as it is now. Right. And about 4:30, we get a phone call. It was Alan. And that's how we lead into your deal at the racetrack. So I'm like, now what do we do? So I'm like, nobody knew what to do. Nobody, because our leader was gone. Our leader, our owner, our guy was gone. What do we do? So we went to the racetrack. So we decided to go to the racetrack just to see what was next. And one thing kind of led to another after that. So by then, that was the old Bristol, where you had to park on top. That was before they did all the bulldozer and all the stuff they got out. You had a one-way in. It was, if people remember the old Bristol, it was a pain to get in there. Yeah. And I remember that. Well, Buster comes up to me, and him and I talked for a little bit. And I said, Buster, I don't want to get down in that infield, because the past champion truck went down into turn 4. And that's by Victory Lane. I said, once I get in there, you can't get out. He said, well, get it, do your thing, go by points. He says, and I'll take care of you once you get in there. And that's how the truck ended up on the start-finish line.
Wow.
So
about that.
And
Very
then
cool.
a lot happened after that. So
Yeah, Eddie Younts messaged me, said, look, he said, I was there. That's the checker flag, the truck rabbit taking the checker flag. That was a sad day. Sure.
yeah, it wasn't fun because we didn't know what was going to happen. NASCAR wanted us, that NASCAR and NASCAR to track, NASCAR and Daytona and NASCAR to track were very supportive. Ford tried to get involved. Everyone, so much started escalating so fast, but we didn't know what to do. And we didn't say, because everything we did was always through Alan. Yeah. So then Jerry, which was Alan's dad, he started getting more involved in it. He was obviously distraught because he just lost his son.
Right.
He did not want to see the car run, but he's like, boys, you're there. I'm not. You make the best decision. And what are you going to do? You could put Dale Earnhardt in that car. You could put Rusty Wallace in that car, and God forbid they wreck it. Just, something happens to it. And Alan has been gone 12 hours, and Alan's death meant nothing. You just can't do it. Nobody had the heart to do it. Nobody wanted to do it.
Right.
Everybody was upset, lost, sad. And we just all made a decision. It was like, hey, we got to get out of here. We got guys at the shop. We got to go home. We got to regroup. Yeah. So NASCAR, like I say, Daytona and NASCAR at the track said, whatever you guys decide to do. But they also said, could you please make a lap or two, whatever you feel comfortable for the guys that are here, because when you leave, they can't go to the memorial. They don't know what's going to happen. So, at first I did not want to do it. Like I said before, I did not want to do it. I was scared Alan's going to be so mad at me for doing it. Yeah. But I said, I got to do it.
Well, you mentioned they wanted you to do a Polish one.
They wanted me to do a Polish one. And I said, no. Yeah. No, I said, nope, that's Alan's trademark. I says, I'm not doing it. I said, that's and now when the guys do it now, when the race car drivers are now, I think it's cool. I think it's cool as heck.
Yeah, sure.
But I did not want to do it that moment. I said, that's something Alan perfected. Yeah. That was his trademark. And when I left there, I'll tell you, they always say the hardest turn for race car drivers is to make that hard left-hand turn into the pit area.
Sure.
No, it ain't. The hardest turn is to make that hard right turn out of the garage, out of the track. Yeah. That was the hardest turn I ever had to turn right there.
I know a lot of times back in '93, a lot of the other drivers were still doing that lap.
Yeah, and I think it's still cool they do it to this day,
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's cool. And that's a cool tribute because it's something that was Alan's deal,
Well, what was really cool was that Sam Bass painting that he did called Champions 4 Ever. And he had Earnhardt and Wallace driving at Atlanta away with the 28 flag and the 7 flag. And that was my photo on the cover of Scene.
Yeah.
And he made that painting.
Yeah.
And made that. And actually, I own that painting, that original.
That's awesome. Good feel.
Yeah, that is.
Yep.
So I got this picture here of you, you sent me a picture of your trophy case or whatever it is here. I'm going to try to make it to where it fits pretty good on the screen here and then fade it over. Okay. So this picture here, I guess that's in your house, I'm assuming.
It's kind of, I got a little shop out back. It's my little man cave.
Okay. You got some championship trophies on there.
Yeah. One of Bobby, one of Tony.
Yeah. It should be, it's on a little delay here. So,
yeah.
So to regress a little bit, tell us what it was like when you clinched that championship in Atlanta in '92. I mean, because it was a tight points race there with the 3 cars.
Oh, it was.
Boom.
Well, it was nerve-wracking.
Because was Alan talking about it in the point situation in his head? Or?
No, he never mentioned nothing. Not to me, anyways. I mean, he might have said something maybe to something, but he was just calm, cool. Now he hated the helicopters flying over. I won't tell you what he said when they were flying over because he's like, that drove him. But he was ready for that deal. The coolest thing was Dick Beatty come up to us that morning. He says, boys, if you don't have engineer this deal, he says, it's yours. And Dick Beatty, when he spoke, you listened.
Yeah, for
sure. But when he come up that morning, he says, boys, if you don't have engineers day. Now, Alan wasn't there for that, but he's like, if you don't have engineer, it's your day. And I thought that was cool. I'm like, wow, that's – Dick Beatty, like I said, when he spoke, you listened. He was the law. I mean, he was the law. Yeah. And but Alan was cool. I can't remember we didn't qualify that good. I think we were mid-pack. I think we're worse than that. I think we're pretty far back. I can't remember how we qualified. Sorry. But but the car was good, man. Alan went out there, broke first gear, and I to this day, Slick Poston, another one, God rest his soul. He did all the gears and transmissions, and I swear to God, when that first gear broke, I think that's what saved us. I really do, because Alan got more conservative. He was more smoother. Not saying Bill was any more aggressive, but But I think braking first gear, I think had a lot to do with it. But the thing is, first gear braking that early in a race, it was just like having sandpaper in the transmission because it wasn't going to last much longer.
Yeah.
First gear was killing the transmission. But I think that's what saved gas mileage. I think, and Alan didn't know about gas mileage. That was all Paul and Danny and Cal, and they were up there, and we're all, me and Tony, and that, when you see that scene when someone pats the cat, that was me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I catched and Tony gassed, and
Yes.
and I know Tony was nervous, man. I know he was nervous. I'm like, God, boy, I'm glad you're gassing. I'm catching, but and we were with the dynamic duo. Him and I we had a good time gassing, but yeah, he was nervous because he counted, but I don't know how long. Back then, we never really flowed that stuff. We didn't know how fast that stuff. We didn't have no clue.
Right.
He just plugged it and hope for the best, So, but we had enough. But I really think braking first gear, I think that kept Alan at bay where he was more smoother on the throttle. You know what I'm saying? I think I just think that braking first gear, I think, had a lot to do with that. I think that just made him think a little different.
Took care of the equipment a little better.
Exactly.
So Jim Dooley says you're right, Hamm. Peter Rabbit should be a speedy rabbit as fast as he talks. I really enjoy listening.
Sorry.
Yes. No, he says he really enjoys listening. No, he is very interesting, and thank you for sharing, Peter, and Hamm for having Peter and Phil, of course. So, yeah, but thank you so much for coming. I'm sure we'll say it again before we get done here.
Well, I was told I've been an auctioneer before. Rudy Fugel told me that one day. He says, you should be an auctioneer.
Well, and that's
I should be an auctioneer.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
So
we started. Yeah, I mean, when I first saw you again, I was like, okay, I remember him. I just don't know that I really sat and talked to you very much. And I was thinking that's why they called you Peter Rabbit, because I talked to you on the phone, too.
Right.
And you talk very fast. And I tend to do that sometimes.
Yeah, my wife says all the time, you talk too fast or too loud for that too.
Yeah,
so.
At least you can understand you, right?
Yeah. Hey, it's New England me. It's a New England me.
I was gonna say if you had a real slow Southern drawl and all ran together, you'll not understand as much.
Is it New England?
New England.
My wife says I talk too much, but that's another story. So
I've been told that too. So
see, that's why you're on the radio, right, David?
Yes. Well, I mean, you got to be able to talk. You got to have the gift for gab.
Yeah.
I guess
That
is
you
what they
do.
call it anyway.
gift to gab. Had a girl.
I just had so much building up from childhood. I didn't talk much when I was young.
Is that what it is? Okay.
So now it's like just let it all
let it go.
go.
Yeah, let it go.
For sure. So we have another question. I've heard that every time a new crew chief comes to a team, they bring a new hauler driver with them. And what does Mr. Jellen attribute to being on the same team through many different crew chiefs?
Well, that's a good question. I've my hard work, and I saw a lot of things as a crew chief. Sees things like doesn't see things that happen that needs to be done, like interior work, to motor work, and I just felt that I was pushing. I pushed myself enough to say this needs to be done, or hey, this job needs to be attended to, or maybe just whatever. I just saw things that weren't getting done, but I saw things that needed to be done, and I addressed that to the crew chief. Now, did that keep me in a job? I don't know, because sometimes they give that job to somebody else, but going through different crew chiefs, yes, I just saw things that needed to be done that if they didn't get addressed, they probably wouldn't get done.
Yeah. Well, I kind of went through that too myself, because at Sabco we went through a bunch of people, and I was like the one consistent. Me and Jerry Swites, the truck driver there, hard times were kind of like he was the truck driver, and of course you had Big John Yook was our other guy. He was consistent, and then me,
right,
for like 5-6 years, whatever. And Scott Trevison, of course, but I'm talking as far as like pit crew guys that right there in the pits. But what I was going to say was, part of it too is it seems like it might be a little bit of a loyalty to the team, because a lot of times crew chief will come and go. They'll come in, they'll bring their guys, and then, I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes they come in, they scoop up some of the money, and then they get out and go somewhere else, But I was always kind of like, sort of like loyal to let's say Felix Sabatis and that team,
right?
So
right, and that's how I was with Joe Gibbs. I was loyal. Right. If you cut me right now, I'd probably still bleed green, interstate green,
right?
And I was loyal to Joe, and I understood that the crew chiefs come and go. The drivers come and go, and I've told this to a couple of crew chiefs. Like, I've worked at motor guys, I've worked with interior guys, I've worked with tire changers and crew. Why I'm still there? Well, the good thing is the truck driver gets in the truck and he's kind of like on his own.
Yeah,
he's not in the airplane, he's not in the van, he's kind of doing his own thing. Yeah. But I just always was. there was a couple people like Gibbs that always believed in me, and Mark was one of them. Joe was one of them. JD, God rest his soul, he was another one that he believed in. He believed in his people. Sure. That they saw the void, and I just I saw a void there, and if it doesn't get done, it's like anything else. You don't same at your house. You're not gonna wash your dishes and not put soap in your dishwasher. You just know it's got to be done. It's just things that it has to be done, and sometimes a new crew chief, when a crew chief comes to a team, it's like a stepdad. He's not your father. You know what I'm saying? But he's not your dad either.
Right.
He's.
But you gotta listen to him.
But you gotta listen to him. You gotta respect him. But he's not he's not your father.
But he's got to fit in too.
He's got to fit in.
And spend a lot of time with him.
Right. And a crew chief is the way I always look at it. He has to come down to the team's level and then brings the team up together.
Yeah, that's a good
it's
point.
hard for a crew chief. I understand crew chiefs getting but the crew chief's now got a tough position too,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Dennis is telling us we need some cowbell. I didn't think I brought the David
Oh,
Hamm.
you do have it.
I do have it.
I like that.
sticker?
Yeah,
That's
man.
the David Hamm Racing Roots cowbell there. That's
great.
when you have to dig up your best Sterling Marlin story that's PG rated. And if you don't have one of them, you could throw a Bobby Labonte in there.
Yeah, I don't really have a Sterling Marlin. He was pretty laid back. I got him a couple batteries. I know that. But
key words there. But go ahead with you were with Bobby for many years.
Yeah, I worked for Bobby 10 years. Bobby is a great guy. Love him to death. He let me have it one time. We were at Loudon, and it's when Joe had the football deal and had different helmets, and the Hans first come out with the different clips, and we didn't have a lot of that stuff. So, Bobby struggled a bit at Loudon. Flat tracks were not his forte, and we qualified 6th. I'm like, all right, cool. All right, great. Qualified 6th. Of course, Loudon, down in turn 1, and the trucks are down in turn 4 in the garage area. And I helped him get in the car. I get him in the car, get him all in there, and he wants to put his helmet on. And we always had 2 different helmets, one for practice, one for the race, Well, crazy me, forgot to change the Hans clips. I forgot to take him off the practice helmet, put him on his race helmet, and all of a sudden he puts his helmet on, and he gives me that Bobby Labonte look like, now what? I'm thinking,
Gosh.
yeah, there you go. Yeah, the
That's a bad feeling. I know.
Yeah, so I run from turn 1 to the truck, 100 miles an hour. Well, felt like 100 miles. By the time I got there, it was like I was dragging feet. Yeah. Grab the clips, run back. I think I got like halfway back on pit road, and I felt like I was Steve Austin in slow motion, and I felt like it was forever to get back. And I'm like, somebody please help me. Wow. I get the car, and I just fall into one of the guys that was there helping me. I said, here. I just couldn't go nowhere. I was out of breath. The whole race, I'm just like, done. So after the race, he just looks at me. Bobby looks at me. He goes, I don't have to say nothing, do I? I'm like, no, sir. He goes, did you learn your lesson? I'm like, yes, sir. And that's all he said to me.
Oh, I could see that.
But he was cool about it. And I'll tell you another story that was good is Martinsville. We were at Martinsville, but Bobby was good. I'll tell you what David Hoots at Pocono, to go back to that same story. David Hoots, I went to David. I said, David, I owe you big time. He goes, I know what you're going to tell me, Peter Rabbit. I go, what's that, David? He goes, I saw what happened at Loudon last week. And he goes, I didn't have the heart to start the race. Because I figured, he goes, I wanted to start that race. They held the race up for me. Yeah. He goes, I didn't have the heart. Because I watched you come back. He goes, you were just like running so slow.
David Hoots is the race director.
Yeah, he was the race director. He controls the whole deal. He goes,
Sure.
I didn't have the heart to start the race.
That's
so I'm like, well, thank you, David. I owe you one.
Yeah.
But where was I getting at? I lost my train of thought there for a second.
With Bobby.
Martinsville. Yeah. We were making a last minute change, and this is where Bobby's a true gentleman. And we used to do plug checks, and the guys would go out and push the car back in after. Martinsville's a pain because all the cambering. You take every guy, you got to push the car. Well, I was in the garage getting the garage straightened out because of Alan. Because that's what you got to do. Yeah. And he said, hey guys, can we make a shock change, a left front shock change? And the guy's like, well, we're on pit road. There's like 5 minutes left to practice. And I just get on the radio and go, yeah, bring it in here. We'll see what we can do. And so the crew chief comes over and says, grab shock, 10, whatever. There was a number on it. Well, don't forget, at Martinsville, using a lot of front brake. So he comes whipping in there, and I open up the hood, and I reach in there to try changing the shock. And I got the top of the shock off, but every time he reached down there, the rotor's, hot. And,
oh, yeah.
I had gloves on, but still, it's hot. It's hot. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't get the bottom bolt out. And it was just, And I was like, I got to get this done, you know. Oh, sorry, guys. Black and red's out. Practice over. He shut, you know, car takes the steering wheel, puts it on the dash, he unhooks his belts, and I'm thinking, oh, man, I'm going to get my butt chewed out for this one. He gets out of the car, comes up to me, pats me on the back. He says, good try. Good job. Nice try. Nice. And he walks away. But he's driven a truck. He's worked on the motors. He's changed shocks. He's swept the floors. He gets it. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, man, I'm in trouble. He just pats me on the back, says, okay, good job, good try. And that was the end of it. And I'm like, wow. I was like, whoo, got out of it. But that's how Bobby was. Mm-hmm. That's how Bobby is.
Yeah, he still is. I mean, even that modified tour the last couple weekends, he's just so laid back. He just loves racing. He's a
good guy.
Oh, he's a
great guy.
Really is.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Telling these stories, Eddie Hunt says, ask Rabbit any good Ronnie Vaccaro or Danny Glad stories.
Ronnie Vaccaro.
Yeah.
No, Danny Glad. Oh, no, not Ronnie. I don't have too many on Ronnie because Ronnie was more in the shop. But Danny and I, he actually, Danny came back with me after Alan's deal. He drove back in the truck with me. But I can remember being down Daytona, and Danny would go to me. He says, "Pete, fire up the truck." I'm like, okay. And I had a 50-foot hose for the glad hands, and no pun intended, but I hook up the glad hands, and he says, find some cardboard, and him and I took the heads off the motor, and he's in there. He's just grinding away. Yeah. You know, because back then, you didn't have CNC. You didn't have.
Right.
Sure. We're grinding heads away. We're grinding intakes away. And we had a heck of a mess in the truck.
Yeah.
And we were there, I don't know, all hours of the night, grinding away heads. And I think Alan finished fourth in that race. But we had heads off the motor. We had crap everywhere. We had speedy dry. We had brake. It was a mess. And Alan's like, whatever. But that's what we did. But back then, you ground heads, you ground intakes, you ground headers. You didn't have all this stuff that was CNC. So Danny taught me a lot about motors. He was cool. He was as laid back. I don't see Danny as much as I want to. But Danny, like I say, it was a group of guys. We were just a bunch of misfits, and we just all got along so good. It was fun.
Well, look what you did. I mean, together. That group of misfits.
You know, I tell you, we won that championship, and we had the banner.
Hey, David, do you have that picture I sent you? I was going to pick on Peter. Peter, do you remember?
Hold on, let me
2000.
make sure.
I don't want Peter to look at it yet, but you remember in 2010, I came up to you at Fontana, and I was like, Peter, I need you to do me a favor. Do you remember this?
Probably not until I see the picture.
And I says, I need you to give a stripper a ride back to the East Coast for me. Can you do that? You probably don't remember.
I don't remember that.
Because
my memory's getting pretty bad.
Because you were like, sure, Phil, right, yeah. I'm like, look, I'll have the stripper waiting at your hauler after the race is over. You can give her a ride back, right? Sure, are you getting red?
I don't know.
Is the picture up?
Here it is.
I'm afraid to look.
And when Peter came to the hauler afterwards, this is the stripper that was waiting for him.
Oh, boy.
Can you see that?
I can't see it. I don't want to see it. I don't know. What is it?
It's like a toy.
Remember, it was a little mechanical speaker that you plug into your laptop. Someone had given it to me, a little toy of a girl on a pole that would spin around to the beat of the music. Remember that I had to put it on the passenger front seat, and you laughed hard when I came to you the next week. You took it all the way back.
But it didn't help me drive home, though. So
yeah, well, it was a little USB plug-in. You put music and it would dance around the little
thanks
pole.
A lot. Love you
Somebody
too.
gives that. I remember the look on your face says, "Can you give a stripper a ride home from the West Coast?" You're like, "Yeah, sure."
Okay, where is she now?
She's home in the closet somewhere.
Okay, she can stay there.
She's hiding in the closet now. She's unemployed.
Yeah, she can stay there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, you were just like, yeah, sure, right?
Yeah. Okay. California, thanks a lot.
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah, those are the days.
That was my Peter Rabbit moment.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, thanks a lot. But no, there was some decent trip. Hey, and I can honestly say all those trips out west, they were. Everyone asked me, how was your trip? Boring. And I tell you, I've been very fortunate.
You ever have anything that just wild that happened? I mean, I have heard storms where houses were rolling past.
Yeah, well, no. I will say the only time that something really goofy happened is, I forget what channel it was. Maybe it was ESPN or something. They did a 7 days. Remember the 7 days deal they did back in a little while back? They did 7 days. They followed somebody for 7 days.
Right.
Well, they did me.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was cool. I was like, hey, this is kind of neat. You know.
Yeah.
We're leaving Sears Point, and they got the camera right there, and like me and my co-driver, and it's like, wow, this is like not something you really want in your truck, but it was all good. Now, when you left Sears Point, you took that left on 37, like you're heading back to Sacramento. I don't know how you went to the airport, but
setting
you go back
traffic on that causeway.
Yeah. And it was kind of a wavy deal. And I got, moving right along, not fast, but I was probably 40, 45. And I come over a hump and traffic stopped. And I'm thinking, oh boy, this is going to hurt. And I'm thinking, of all times, I have a camera on me. Couldn't be when someone had a flat tire or, trying to do something heroic. I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be big.
Yeah.
Well, good Lord, I went over the hill and this guy had his brakes on and he saw me coming. And I said, dude, to myself, whatever you do, don't move. Please don't move. Lord, please don't move. And he didn't. And I just went to the right of him and I stopped, I got stopped, maybe 2 or 3 vehicles past him. And I looked at my co-driver, and of course you should have seen his eyes. And I looked at him, I said, Bob, I said, I bet you $100 this is going to be on a Christmas video. And he laughs, we laugh, we go home. Well, sure enough, about, 2-3 months later, JD calls me. He goes, hey, you know that deal you did coming from California? You got a video of that? I'm like, yeah. He goes, can I get a copy of that? I'm thinking, no. And I said, what's it for? He says, you'll see it. I'm like, so how can you say no to JD? And I gave it to him. Sure enough, that was the first thing that come up in a Christmas video.
Oh, yeah.
But it was funny.
Cool.
But I was like, so that was but I've been very blessed. Knock on wood. We did have one little incident going through Dallas, but we won't get into that. But that was some moron just wasn't paying attention. We had a little, not quite a fender bender. We were very lucky there, but been very fortunate all the years. We've been very blessed driving up on the highway. Big incidents. Everything's been very good. Trucks have been safe. Everything's cool, and so I can't complain about that. But to answer your question, that was probably about the goofiest thing ever happened.
Yeah, we're going to shout out to Manisha Kinzer there.
Yeah, she's feeling better. That's good to see her up and about, Manisha.
Yeah, she was in a little a golf cart. I want to say go-kart because we race go-karts, but that was another story. Natalie Decker. But, a golf cart accident, but she's doing good. Yeah. And Scott Fell hasn't had a question. He says the statute of limitations is over with. Have you ever unloaded a car from the truck and thought, there's no way they're going to let this on the track, but they just let it race anyway? So,
you ever had a T-Rex car?
Well, not to my knowledge anyways. Well, of course, every car is right to the gray area, I guess you could call it. But no, that's one thing that Joe Gibbs is very, very stern about. He says, you guys can push it right to the line, but don't go over that line. And Mark was the same way in the motor shop. Kyle's the same way. Because it's not worth it.
Right.
You could go to that limit. We'll back you right to that line. In fact, if your shoelace is hanging over, we're still going to back you. But if you cross that line, you're on your own. So to answer his question, no, it's really not worth it. It's because you want to win honestly. You want to win 100%. You want to live legitly because you got to live with yourself too.
And they look too close anymore. It's hard to get away with.
It's hard to get. Yeah, the rule book has changed so much. It's not the fines that get you. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, man. It's just the guys. All these guys work too hard. It's really not worth it. It's like I say. I'd rather beat a guy in a racetrack than beat him. I hate to say this physically, but I don't want to punch the guy in the mouth in a pit area. I'd rather beat him on the racetrack. I'd rather beat him at the racetrack than beat him in the pits. That hurts more than a kick in the butt.
Back in the day, it was almost like they were still writing the rule book, every week. So you could bend the rules a little bit. You could do things, and sometimes if you knew you were breaking the rules, you're going to get fined $50,000 or whatever.
Right.
But then just there's way too much on the line.
There's too much. Just you don't want. You're right. You don't want to lose your people. Sponsorships.
Wasn't like a couple weeks ago when John Dodson was talking about after the Winston was over with Rusty and Darryl. They're shoving and punching it.
Right, exactly.
It was the good old days.
I know one thing. I like my teeth, and I just like my heart card. I don't want to lose either one of them. Like I said, my ultimate goal is we're all tight. We're friends. We you know what? We compete, and I want to beat that guy's butt just as hard and not harder. It's like a teammate. I want to beat my teammate, but I want to see my teammate do good. But at the end of the day, we're all competitors. But at the end of the day, also too, we sleep together, we eat together, we stand in line together. There's not a thing in that garage here that none of us have done. We've seen guys lose sponsors. We've seen guys have tragedy. We've seen guys wreck race cars. We've seen blown tires. We've all experienced it. So everybody in that garage here has gone to that same realm of whatever you want to call it. So, but everyone's experienced it. So everybody,
Yeah.
when there's a tragedy or there's an issue, the teams rally together.
They do.
The teams come together and they work together. Whether, hey, I need a truck, or hey, I need a crew guy, hey, I need a part, hey, I need a bag of ice, I need a gear. Everyone they all pull together, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And and I hated to see that guy win, but in your heart you're saying, well, I'm sure glad that guy won. You never say, hey, in your heart you're going, good job.
So I want to regress to a question about Alan. What was the deal with the combs? The combs. Remember, he'd always comb his hair before he got out of the car. I have a comb. Tom Roberts gave me one of his winter's shampoo bottles with a comb from it.
Well, I got one of his glove boxes. How's that?
Oh,
yeah, I got one of his.
wow.
I got one of his glove boxes. Dave Allen was all about perception. He was all about looking good.
Yeah,
his hair.
Leather jacket.
Leather jacket. He was a flamboyant looking.
Yeah.
But we looked at us sometimes. You're like, God, what a bunch of crumbums you guys are. But he wanted us, shirts tucked in, and that's something. He wanted truck clean. But that's all Alan was. He was a clean cut guy. Yeah. He wanted his shop clean. He wanted his house was always clean. His cars were clean. That's why he did. At the time, he was just one of those clean cut kind of guys, I guess.
And I also heard that during the '92 T's season, there was a bad pit stop somewhere. And when guys dropped the jack and he left the pit, he drove out to the end of pit road, and all you heard was, "Are you guys trying to ruin my bad career?"
Yeah.
That would be Alan.
That'd be Alan. Well, at the time we were doing 19 or 20-second pit stops, which was bad stops. They were great stops back then.
Back then, yeah.
But he was like, all right, good job, guys. That's good, but you can do better. Nothing was ever good enough, and it wasn't that he was trying to be sarcastic. That was his way of pushing you. Okay, that was a good stop, but the tires could be faster, the gas could be faster, da-da-da-da-da. And that's where guys, you wanted to kill the guy, but that was his way of pushing you to the next level. Yeah. And you're like, God, I can't do no more, but you know what? I'll show this guy. Because he didn't pay you for pit stops. You didn't get paid extra for pit stops.
No.
To be on his pit crew, you had to be good enough for him.
Yep.
So if you weren't good enough, you're out of there. So that was your motivation to be good.
Yeah.
So if you had a 19-second stop, yeah, he knew he went out 4th or 5th, whatever. Yeah, sure, everybody wants to go out first. But all right, guys, good stop. We could do better. Because he knows if I tick you off, you're going to get better. Right. So that was his way of pushing you. And that's where he had trouble finding people when he first hired people, because he would just push you to the edge, and you're like, I ain't going to work for this nut. These guys are crazy. He's wacko. Yeah. And you leave. But if you could stay for his little initiation program, you were in. Yeah. You were in, and that's how he was. And
that's kind of like what Marlon Yoder was talking about when he first, this kid that came from the Amish community, first person he worked for was Richie Waters, which pushed him all the time.
To the end,
He bulldogged him into being a perfectionist that he is.
Well, I hate to say it, but people look at me today, Peter Rabbit, and it's not. Yeah. I'm not saying I'm a perfectionist. It's the last thing I am, but I still do things to this day, wrapping up extension cords, cleaning things up. You take a cop, you take a nurse, you take a person in the military, you take whoever you are, you get adapted to that environment. You become that person. It's not make you a bad person. Just that's what you become. And
I got driven by one of the best editors ever, Deb Williams.
There you go.
She was always on the ball on me, man. Here and Tom Jensen.
It makes you a better. Made you a better writer. Made you a better person.
And always willing to say, "Great job, great shots," and that alone, made you feel fantastic and keep pushing hard.
Right.
Because the appreciation was,
because that mountain just gets higher. But you're right. I don't regret that. I don't regret that. Push. And I like it. And that's why I respect Kyle. Kyle, when he gets in the car, you better be ready, because he gives you 150%. You better give him 150% back.
Sure. Eddie's asking us to tell us about the Underbird.
The car?
Yeah. I guess it was the under in capital letter, Underbird.
The Underbird car, yeah. That was at Atlanta, because Alan was always the Mighty Mouse guy. Yeah. He always had the Mighty Mouse on his patch. Yeah. And that was his logo.
Yep. He took the TH off
and
there
the
and had the little Mickey Mouse right in front of it.
Yeah. No, not Mickey Mouse. It was the Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse.
The Mighty Mouse.
What did I say? Mickey
Mouse. It was the Mighty Mouse.
Yep.
Yeah.
And and he talked to Ford about it, and Ford said, "Yeah, go for it." And that was
cool.
that. Yep. Yeah. Ford said, "Go for it," and that was the underdog, because he was the underdog. You know, he was.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, and going back to what I was saying about the banner, after we won the championship,
Yeah.
we got the banner and all that stuff. In fact, one of the magnets they put on the car, that said 2000 or 92 Windsor Cup champ.
Yeah.
I got one of those. He gave me one.
Oh, very cool.
He gave me that magnet that was on the side of the car.
Yeah.
But the big banner that went in the shop, I walked in there one day. It was hanging up. I'm going to myself, God, Robert Yates and you know, Kyle Petty and all these teams that we beat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Going, wow, we're a bunch of and then we're a bunch of misfit toys. We beat the powerhouse teams at the time.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
we were.
Every time I
Yeah.
hear the song, I Did It My Way, I always think about him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every time I hear
Didn't
that
they
song.
play that at the banquet?
At the banquet.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
He was cool, man. He
right.
took. We went to the Ford dinner, and Ford. I mean, Ford took care of us on that deal.
Yeah.
The wives. He took us up to the presidential suite. We got to go to the Waldorf Astoria. We got to go up in the balcony.
Yeah.
And Alan's like, have at it. You know, he actually come up upstairs.
Yeah.
Saw the, you know, he was one of the guys. He was just a different. When he's at the race, he was a light switch.
Yeah.
He was all business. You get him away from the racetrack, he was Alan. He was fun.
Did we ask him Dickie's question? What was your favorite track? Did we get that one?
No.
My favorite track? Wow. Well, there's a lot of them. I mean, you got to like Bristol because it was what everyone's grew up in. I like North Wilkesboro. I love Martinsville. I'm a short track kind of guy, I guess. You know, so I have to say Martinsville, Wilkesboro, Charlotte, Darlington's cool. I mean, you got to go to them all, I guess. But if I had I don't know. Kansas. I like Kansas. Of course, Stafford, Thompson, Riverside. I miss Riverside Park. Riverside Park and Iguam was. You got if anyone knows about Riverside Park, that was a place to watch a modified race. Yeah. Quarter mile at that place was bad. When Richie Evans up there, Bodine, them guys, man, Troy, that was a race to watch. That was cool.
Yep.
Yep. I'd say Riverside Park.
What'd you think of the dirt race at Bristol?
It was dirty. No, I thought, first of all, the track did a great job. They couldn't control the weather. They did an awesome job to control what they could. They got the trucks in and out. They did a heck of a job getting them in and out of there. People asked me what I thought, and I want to be honest with you. They should have left that Bristol. I think they should have gone to a different venue for dirt.
How about to the Charlotte dirt track?
Well,
I thought that too.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. You're heading that same. They should have gone to the Charlotte dirt track because you would have got your dirt track fans. They could have had trucks and sprint the same weekend, the same night. You got your dirt track fans. You would have had your asphalt fans to filter over there. And you got your 600 or your whatever race, and you could have had your dirt fans filter over to the big track.
Yeah.
True. Yes,
I think
exactly
what
right.
happened was I think some people just got mixed emotions because you put dirt on asphalt, asphalt's on dirt. I think
Yeah.
I thought the race was fine. Now, of course, I say that because we won the truck race, but I give NASCAR a lot of credit. I give the track a lot of credit because you know what? Hey, we all could be sitting home right now.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
we all could be
sure.
sitting home. So there's cars on the track. We'll take the best we can get and go with it.
Right.
But I like Chris Buescher's comment is that sadly we lose one good concrete Bristol race.
Yeah.
We did.
You know?
We did, and he's right. Yeah. He's right. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of other venues we could have gone to, but you got to give. And I'm not siding with anybody, but hey, what we've been through this last year.
Yeah.
We got cars on the racetrack. There's teams. We're out there. Like it or not, we all could be sitting home not doing nothing.
No doubt.
Did you have any
Absolutely
Kenny
right.
Wallace story at all? I know I sent Kenny the text.
Okay.
I sent him the show. So
Oh God, no! I don't let it.
probably end up
Just
watching
when he drove for Robbie a couple of times, he was always funny. And he was always like, "All right, Robbie'd say, all right, start it up. All right, motor running."
Yeah.
He'd say, "All right, motor off." He'd always ad-lib what is going on. But no, that one time, like I said, earlier, that when his throttle stuck, I was like, "Wow, that was big for me." But Kenny was a true gentleman about that, and it was fun working with him. We were at Richmond, Iowa, and I think there was 3 races we were with Kenny. And he was a lot of fun. He's a nut, but he's a lot of fun.
So his team was in that shop. I believe it was the old 7 shop, the 40 car of the Dirt Devil.
He was behind us.
Behind us.
He
Okay.
was
Behind
Dirt
y'all's shop.
Devil. Yeah.
Dirt Devil,
It was
yeah.
Dirt Devil with
Yeah.
Kenny. It was Alan, Ray Bestis with Bobby Allison, which was a Hut.
Yeah,
It was Hut
over there
Strickland
one
with the
time.
Ray Besto.
Yep.
And then Dave Rezendes was in the front.
Yep.
And his dad.
72.
Yeah.
That was my first.
Yeah, 72.
my
His
first,
dad sponsored. His dad had a construction company up north. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That was my first interview in racing. Was over in that shop. That,
Yep.
And then you had, what was it, Hank Jones's
93 or so.
sports.
Yeah, Sports Image was over there.
Image.
Yeah, Sports Image was there. Yeah.
That was the
Ken
block.
Reagan Racing was just up the road.
Yeah. It was
Sam Bush.
it was.
Sam Bass.
Well, if you, now see what a lot of people don't understand either is, or realize either, that our shop had before Jeff bought it. Our motor shop was at the Stavola Brothers shop, the South Side of Stavola Brothers.
Okay.
Okay.
Which we had, where an 8-car with Bobby and all them guys. There was a little shop, probably the size of a broom closet.
Yeah.
It
and
was
that's
very
where Dan,
small.
Yeah, that's
over.
where the motors come. And I can remember, I'd call Danny and say, "Hey, man, I'm coming over," and I'd have a pickup truck, motors and oil in his suitcase, and that's how we did it.
Yeah.
And that's we just trucked things back and forth. And that shop was probably, I don't know, 5 miles, 4.5 miles.
Yeah,
other
right
side of
at
town.
49.
Up 49. Yeah, and
I worked over there for 1 year.
Yeah.
In that building.
Stavola. Yep.
Very historic
Yep.
building. I
Yeah,
mean,
it is a very story. And that's a lot of good. And that's
almonds.
More like a shed.
it was like it was like a shed. It's all it was. Yeah. And the funny thing was, I'm surprised the EPA hasn't go over there, but when they ran the dyno, they ran the water through the cooler. They just ran it out the back door. So like the whole back part of the building was just always soppy, a mess, But I'm sure it's dried up by now. So, but they got the junkyard across the street, so I think everything's okay. But,
I think so. Yeah.
but no, those days were fun. It was just, but you just did it. You didn't know any better. You just did it, man. You just raced and you had a good time, and it didn't matter. And, back then it didn't matter what car you drove. It didn't matter if it was Chevrolet, Ford, Buick. Oh, it didn't have it. Guys didn't care. You just, hey man, you got a part. You just went in the guy's truck. You went and got it. There was no, well, you drive this and you drive that, and you're part. It didn't matter back then. Everyone just did what they had to do to go racing.
That's right. Yep. Let's see here. Let's see if we had any more questions or any text messages or anything. I was having issues with my phone being the charger wasn't wanting to work.
Oh boy.
Well, it's back to that again. So whatever. I'm gonna have to put some alcohol in there and clean it out.
There you go.
And I'll get it working.
Time for a
again.
new one.
Yeah. So otherwise, that's it. That was pretty much it. So if everybody has last minute questions, but we're gonna spin the wheel right quick and get the. Well, we did have a couple of comments on here, and Jennen's talking, Jennen and Dickie, and thank you for sharing your amazing stories from Dickie Dennis and other fabulous racing routes. And Scott Treff says, don't forget the Sandwich Construction Company, of course, yes. Mm-hmm. And R.D. Ford says, thank you, Peter Rabbit, Jellen, for hearing the great racing history from you all night, start of the busy season. So just tuning in. Thank you, David, Tracy, Phil, and Jersey Cape Yachts.
Jersey Cape Custom Yachts.
Phil piped up right quick right there. Yes.
That's my calling.
That's good, yes. Jana says, wasn't Peter Rabbit one of the guys to receive Allen's induction?
Yes, he was the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
Yes.
I believe Felix was the presenter.
Yeah, I was very shocked in that one. Tom Roberts, once again, greatest guy on 2 feet. Tom's a great guy. He invited us, to that deal, and no idea that I was going to be asked to go up there. And he goes, "Up, you're going to sit here. You're going to do this." And no, I didn't go. I went. I shouldn't say it, but I went by myself. And when I went, he was the guy. Took pictures with, and I'm like, man, this is kind of cool,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Tom's just like, say he's first class, and then all of a sudden he's like, I get called up there, going, well, what am I doing up here, But I tell you, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't change anything because it was a path that.
That was a neat night.
It was a neat night, man. It put a staple on everything from taking the truck around the track, going, I didn't want to do that, but I did. To, do I take this job with Alan? But I did. All the things, the path I took. I mean. Once again, God bless my mom and my wife because they're the ones do it. If you don't do it, you're going to regret it. And I don't regret it but it was a path I took. Could I ever pay for this path? No. Could I?
Right. Yeah.
I wish I was smart enough to write a book about it.
Yeah.
But it's nice that people want to hear about it because it's just a neat story and that deal going, Alan getting in there and getting called up on stage just to be part of that deal. And it was perfect, so it was cool. It was cool.
Yes, very cool. So we're going to spin the wheel right quick. So, and it seems like we had one more. Oh, hey to Kit and Paul down in Port St. Lucie, Florida as well. And Kit says, really great stories. Alan was a cool guy.
He really was.
And, Steve Knife's joined in here. Felix was the executor of Alan's estate, Felix Abatis. Steve worked
You
with me
want
over
to hear
there.
a good about Felix real quick?
Yeah.
The weekend after Alan's deal, we got called back to the shop Sunday night.
Yeah.
And because we just had to figure out, and Jerry finally got, that's when Jerry made Alan or Felix executor and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all at the shop. We didn't know what was going on. Sitting around, and Felix, you know how Felix is, and he's got that accent, and he goes, "I'm going to go in tomorrow and fire every one of my beep 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 guys," and we're all like, "Why?" He goes, "All the money I spent, and I can't win a race," he says, "and look around here, and you guys won a championship." So it just goes to show you, money doesn't buy speed, but it's and Felix is a great guy too.
Yeah.
Felix is he's got a big heart. Yeah. Very blessed that he did what he did. But Felix is cool. He's funny, but when he said back up on stage, and I'm like, "What are we talking about?" I said, "I'm not backing up." But no, Felix is cool. But he was funny. He goes, "I'm going to fire all my guys tomorrow." We're like,
oh my gosh.
yeah. But he's like, "I'm spending all this money and you guys win a championship." So it was just funny how he said it. But it was, but Felix did a great job doing that whole deal. And
I just sent you a picture, David,
Okay.
on an email of that night of Peter on stage with Felix.
Oh, okay. So Felix, he got up at one of our Christmas parties and sang La Bamba, of course.
of course. Now, I don't know how he was to work with, but I mean, he's
Well,
yeah, I'm sure he was a little, but I've heard good about but he was good doing our deal.
Yeah.
Because like I say, Jerry didn't know nothing. He's like, guys, he says, I build motors. He says, I don't know what to do. So they put, Felix in charge, and Felix went out and tried to sell it, and it came down to Jeff or Payne Stewart. Those are the two people that was going to buy it.
okay.
Wow.
And
About that.
the reason they didn't sell it to Payne is because, God rest his soul too, but he wasn't a racer. And Felix and Jerry said, "I don't want to sell it. These guys work too hard. They're too loyal to, Alan."
Yeah.
And nothing against Payne Stewart.
Right.
But they sold it to Jeff because Jeff was a racer. And that's what Jerry and Felix felt. And that's how Jeff got it.
Remind me why Jimmy Hensley drove that once, didn't he?
Jimmy drove it several times because Jimmy was requested by Alan. If something happened to Alan,
Oh, that's right.
he was next in line, and he was a Ford driver.
Yeah, okay.
And he was requested by Alan if something, God forbid, happened to Alan.
Okay.
Which driver went out of the, was it Talladega or somewhere? He went over
That
the
was Jimmy Horton.
Okay.
32 car, 1993.
Yeah.
May race. Sam Sharp
remember.
shot a beautiful picture of that going over.
Over the end.
I remember back in the day, I used to get him and Jimmy Hensley confused because they were both Jimmy age.
Jimmy Hensley.
I didn't
class
get it.
act.
Yeah. Giant of a man. Giant
of a man, but gentle as a lamb.
I know.
Becky, his wife, the family.
Yeah.
They were just great people, and they still are.
And Jimmy Horton still races dirt races
racing
in the
and kicks
Northeast.
butt. And kicks
he's
butt. Yep.
Still kicking it.
Yep.
Yep.
Phil, I didn't get a picture.
I sent it on email.
Yeah. I checked both to my emails here. Hey, I want to remind everybody I'm going to have a show coming up here on WAME. Actually, it's going to be with MRN Classic Races. So y'all going to want to tune into that. It's going to be playing the voice of NASCAR, of course, MRN radio, and they replay races from the 80s, 90s, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be hosting that show. It's going to be very cool. I'm excited about it because then I can throw in a little tidbit of information, different things, like from some of my friends that were there, or maybe I was there.
Well, I told you what I was listening to the other day when you called me.
Yeah, that's right.
It was an 84 Talladega.
Yes.
I was listening to.
I love listening to that stuff
I do too. All like Barney Hall was.
Yeah.
He was the heat man. Barney's a great guy.
Yep.
I miss him.
I start listening to it. I'm like, even the intro and all this, like, oh my gosh, it gives me goosebumps. It brings back memories and.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Those guys were. They were men. All
right, so let's spin the wheel. So Scott Travis says, Jimmy Horton, said a race fan, came up to him and offered him a beer on the outside of the track. I can
believe that. He probably took it.
Yes.
We know they just lost Jimmy Johnson. Not Jimmy Johnson. Dirt guy. Not Alan. God, I'm being crazy here.
Johnson?
Not Alan.
All the names.
Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson.
Okay.
Jack. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Jack.
yeah.
They just lost Jack. Yep. Sorry.
Right, attach it to your Facebook. Try that, David.
Oh, okay. If I can get
Yeah. So Kyle Busch Motorsports. That's a pretty good deal.
Not a bad deal. I got over there doing a late model deal last year and with Sammy Smith and enjoyed it. It was fun. Went to some racetracks I didn't think a truck could ever get into, to be honest with you. Yeah. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. Went to New Smyrna for the Speed Weeks and went to Winchester, went to I-44.
Isn't it kind of neat? That's like all the 30-some years that I've been doing all that, and now I'm on that Smart Modified tour.
It's amazing.
And we did Caraway, Florence, just did South Boston. They're going to do Caraway again, Dillon Speedway. I've never been to Dillon. I've never been to Carteret. I've never been to the Motor Mile they're going to.
You'll like that place up there. Yeah, we tested up there. That's in cool track.
And my question was, those modifieds, they must get wound up on a mile-long speedway. No, it's half mile. It's the motor half mile.
Yeah,
I heard it's built right into the rocks. It's beautiful.
Its place is nice. You'll like it up there. Yep.
So everybody come on out. That's October 2nd.
Yeah, it's cool. But those
up near Radford, Virginia, the Motor Mile.
I'm telling you, support those local tracks, man. Because I'll tell you what, I've heard a lot of these tracks. Like I say, doing this the late model deal with Kyle. And I'm like, I drove the truck, and I'm going, thank God for Waze, because I'm driving along and turn left, turn right, and I'm like, a truck should never come down these roads. And all of a sudden, this beautiful racetrack just appears basically in this guy's field, and it's like, wow, this place is beautiful. Yeah. And they put on some really good racing.
I'm very much looking forward to it.
I'm telling you, the modifieds, just late models, the short track racing is where it's at. I'm telling you, it's. I mean, NASCAR is great, but there's a lot of good short track racing out there. Yep. Really is.
Sure is.
All right, so I'm gonna add this picture on here too, right quick. But I'm also gonna spin the wheel. So, but I'm gonna show you a picture that Phil sent me, and I guess it was from the awards banquet.
Yeah, it was from the Allen's induction into the NASCAR Hall of Fame when Peter got called on stage with Tony Gibson,
and Paul.
Paul Andrews. Paul was the crew chief, and Tony was the team manager.
No, he was gas man fabricator.
Gas man, the old man. I sent him a message tonight. Hopefully, he's listening in. So
want me to tell you a story about Tony and I?
Oh, please, let
it out. All right, real quick. We were at Watkins Glen. And he drove in the truck with me. We get up there, and I think we were in Elmira staying or something. We got there actually early, which was kind of rare for Alan, but we got there, fairly early. We check in a motel. Everything's fine. Tony's my roommate. All right, bud, I'll see you in the morning. Well, we didn't have, of course I set, what do you call it, the front desk for, there wasn't even an alarm. It was just wake up call. Mm-hmm. Well, never got it. Oh. Never got it. Roll over, and we look out the window. Well, it's light out. Now, where Elmira is to the racetrack. It's probably, 20, 25 miles, something like that, 20 miles? Yeah. Well, off we go. Tony, let's go. Boom, off we go. We go fly. And that road's really, a 414 is not really good for a car, let alone a truck. When we get there, we're late, of course. Well, we were like third or something in points. And they parked us down by the crossover. Well, they didn't park us there because we were late. They parked us way on the other end. Well, I said, you don't say nothing to Alan. If I don't say nothing to Alan. He goes, okay. So for Friday, never said a word. Granted, our garage stall was where it needed to be, but the truck wasn't. And, of course, Saturday comes, never said a word. Sunday, about a couple hours for the race, Alan, he could see him. He gets that real goofy look at him going, he's looking. He goes, Peter, how come the garage area is here and the truck's over there? And I'm thinking, because that's where they parked us. That's where Beatty parked us, and he said that was better for us there. I don't know what to say to the guy, I don't know what that was late. And he just kind of like, oh, okay. Nobody, and he never, but me and Tony to this day laugh about it. We were just like, Alan's going to kill us. But we rolled over one day, and I'm like, oh my God, the sun was coming up, and we knew early. Because back then you parked, Friday morning at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Sure. And it was late. I'm like, oh man, we're done. We're in trouble. But yeah, it was funny. But Tony, he was my roommate. We used to laugh ourselves to sleep because we just say, did you hear what he said? Did you see what he did? We just laughed. Tony had that goofy laugh, and we would just laugh ourselves to bed every night, man. It was just fun. Cool. But he was a great team. He taught me so much about, and like I say, between Danny and Paul and Tony, they taught me a lot of things. I knew a lot of things, but I didn't know a lot of things. But they taught me so much about more. Because back then you could teach somebody something. But back then you were such a small group of guys, it didn't matter what you did. It was family. Mm-hmm. If a guy had to go to the truck to get something, everybody shifted gears. Mm-hmm. It didn't matter. You just did it. You just covered the guy. You just did it. Yeah. And that was cool. We just looked after each other,
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's spin the wheel right quick, and so we can wrap it. Not that we're in a hurry or anything, but it's getting close to 2 hours. All right, we loosened up our wheel this morning, but that's okay. That was a quick spin. What would you call that color? Like a violet color? It's like a light purple color, but it looks like let's see, Super Jason. Super Jason is the winner for this week. So Super Jason, what you need to do, and speaking of Jason's, I wanted to say hello to Jason Smith. That's Wormy from our Fire Station 1 here in Statesville. But go on to my website, DHammiam.com, and put your name in there, put your email address, and send me your physical address, and I'll send you your prize. And anyone else that wants to send me your email address, I'll send you these Racing Roots decals, and Phil has them right there. You want to hold one of those up, and I'll send you one of those decals. There,
any decal.
Yeah. So there you go. So send me your email address, and I don't wear you out with emails. Actually, I haven't sent a single one yet, but I'm planning to once a month or something. I might actually send one a week to show you what's going on, or once every 2 weeks, whatever.
Your secretary hasn't helped.
Yeah, that's it exactly. So just trying, I'm building an email list for the future kind of thing. So, and yes, so. Anyway, so one more question with Shaggy65 says, used to look forward to the race fever in Corning, volunteered for 5 years or so, driver, escort, hospitality, met a lot of great people, missed those days. And Corning, I was trying to read that.
That's right outside of Watkins Glen.
Mm-hmm.
Corning, New York. Where you
Yes,
get
sir.
all your Corning wear. That's my hometown
That's it,
area.
buddy. Yes, sir. I actually got a dish I bought from there for a gift for my wife.
Did you?
A good friend of mine works there.
Yep.
Into engineer.
There's a big Corning plant right down in off of 551, 151, heading towards the
No,
beach.
it's
Yep.
gone.
It's gone?
It's gone. That's a big. I think it's an Amazon outlet now.
Oh, really?
Or
It's
something like
gone?
that
Wow.
big, long building.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of
I
those
drove down
places.
to
Wow.
There's Corning and
Florence a
Corning
couple weeks ago.
Optical.
There's with Corning and,
Corning
well, this one's,
Optical.
in Wilmington.
Yep.
Wow.
All right. So, all right. So thanks everybody so much for tuning in, and thank you for coming in, hanging out with us.
Thank you.
Peter,
Thank you
Jellen.
for having me. I
Yes.
enjoyed it very much. Hope everybody enjoyed it.
So if anybody wants to, are you on the social medias or anything, or do you want to be on there, or do you want people to know?
Whatever. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, all right. So here's the deal.
all
If you
good.
want, if you have a question, put it on here after this show ends, because right now we're getting ready to shut down the chat, and you can go back and read these chats, but you won't be able to comment on the chat. But you can go back on here and comment below the video, or also you can ask a question or whatever, and I'll make sure that the question gets answered. And and people had a question about Racing Roots t-shirts. I'll put the link in there. It's actually on some of my videos from the past. Chad Howder's got his, so I want him to send me a picture. And so he has his t-shirt.
This is just easier. Here's Peter's phone number.
Yeah, there you go. It's 555-5555. So there you go. So
Just ask for Phil.
Yeah, right.
So follow my Facebook page, Racing Roots with Hamm. That is the best way to get notified whenever I always put it out like on Saturday, the link to this show, which happens every Monday evening at 7:00. And so we've got some good stuff coming up in the future here. And thanks to Jersey Cape Yachts for sponsoring us. Yeah. And if you'd like to sponsor, send me a message on my website, DHammiam.com. You can reach me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook at Racing Roots. Twitter and Instagram is DHammiam, of course. So, yes, thanks everybody for tuning in. And I meant to get somebody for next Monday. I haven't done that yet, because I like to announce it the week before. And what I called you like 2 days ago, I said, hey, wait a minute, it's Easter time, Peter Rabbit.
Perfect.
But we'll get somebody in here. So we'll let you know if you go on Racing Roots with Hamm page, and you will see who that's going to be ahead of time. So like a sneak peek. But thanks everybody for tuning in, and thank you. And
thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Y'all, good night, y'all.
Check. If you don't know our host, David Hamm, he's a 25-year NASCAR veteran, engine builder, and jackman.
If you don't know me, my name is Phil Cavali. I was a 30-year NASCAR photographer.
Oh, God. And I'm building engines with Mattel.
Yes, Mattel.
Yeah, for Mattel.
Lego blocks.
Yeah.
Live every Monday evening, we have a new guest
From the racing world with their stories, their paths,
Their
racing
racing
roots.
sponsored by Jersey Cape Yachts. Check them out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and their YouTube channel. Also on JerseyCapeYachts.com. Check out Chad Howder as he pilots the Canadian e-Motorsports Network, Racing Roots with Hamm Ford, 7:30 every Tuesday evening on Facebook. Check out my website, DHammiam.com. Be sure to hit that subscribe, turn on the bell notification so you'll be notified every time we go live.